Most of what we know about the world comes from maps, headlines, and school textbooks. But there are countless details about this planet that sound almost unreal, not because they're fake, but because no one ever talks about them. Today, I'll show you 10 concrete things about the world that most people were never taught. Small facts, real facts, the kind that makes you stop and think. How did I not know this? Let's begin. First, there are more trees on Earth than stars in the Milky Way. It sounds impossible, but it's true. Scientists estimate that there are about 3 trillion trees on Earth. Meanwhile, astronomers estimate between 100 and 400 billion stars in the Milky Way. This means Earth, a tiny dot in space, may contain more trees than our entire galaxy contains stars. It's a quiet reminder that the planet beneath our feet is far richer than we usually imagine. Second, some countries don't use the metric system on purpose. The metric system is a standardized way to measure the world. It uses meters for distance, liters for volume, and kilograms for weight. Most countries adopted it because it's simple, logical, and based on units of 10. But not everyone uses it. The United States still measures distance in miles, weight in pounds, and temperature in Fahrenheit. What many people don't know is that the metric system was proposed multiple times. It wasn't rejected because it didn't work. It was considered too expensive and disruptive to change road signs, machines, and daily habits. So the way an entire country measures reality today is shaped more by historical decisions than by efficiency. Third, there are places where people live below sea level, safely. Parts of the Netherlands are several meters below sea level. Normally, that would mean constant flooding, but the country survives thanks to one of the most advanced water control systems in the world. Dams, pumps, and canals work quietly, day and night, keeping entire cities dry. In some areas, if these systems stopped, the land would slowly return to the ocean. Human engineering is literally holding back the sea. Fourth, maps lie, especially about size. On most world maps, Greenland looks almost as big as Africa. In reality, Africa is about 14 times larger. This happens because common map projections distort size when trying to represent a round planet on a flat surface. So the world map you've seen your entire life isn't wrong, just deeply misleading. Your mental image of the world has likely been distorted since childhood. Fifth, there are countries younger than your parents. Many people assume countries are ancient, but some nations only became independent in the late 20th century or even 21st century. South Sudan, for example, became a country in 2011. That means entire countries are younger than many of the devices you use every day. The world is still being formed right now. Sixth, most of the ocean has never been explored. We often look to space as the great unknown, but over 80% of Earth's oceans remain unexplored. That means massive underwater landscapes, species, and ecosystems exist without names, photos, or studies. Ironically, we've mapped Mars in greater detail than much of our own planet. The largest unexplored space on Earth is beneath the waves. Seventh, time zones are human agreement, not a law of nature. Time zones exist to organize the world around the rising and setting of the sun. Because Earth rotates, different parts of the planet experience daylight at different times. To make daily life practical, humans divided the world into time zones. But these zones are not natural borders. Governments decide where time zones begin and end. That's why some countries stretch one time zone across huge distances, while others use half-hour or even 45-minute differences. In some places, you can travel a short distance and suddenly be in a different hour or even a different day. Time itself is natural. The way we organize it is a shared human agreement. Eighth, language can shape how you think. In some languages, there are no words for left and right, only north, south, east, and west. People who speak these languages develop an extraordinary sense of direction, even indoors, even as children. The language you grow up speaking quietly trains how your brain understands space and reality. Ninth, there are places where experience daylight or darkness for months. There are regions on Earth where the sun doesn't set for weeks. In parts of Norway, the sun remains visible at midnight during summer. In winter, the opposite happens, near total darkness. Daily life adapts completely. Sleep patterns, work routines, and even mental health change with the sky. In these places, nature, not clocks, sets the rules. 10th, the world is changing faster than our intuition can handle. Your intuition evolved for small communities and slow change. But today, borders shift, cultures mix, and technology advances faster than our instincts can process. That's why the modern world can feel overwhelming, even when progress is happening. Understanding this doesn't make you smarter than others. It makes you more patient with yourself. These weren't opinions. They weren't theories. They were real, concrete things about the world that most of us were never taught. Not because they're hidden, but because no one slows down enough to explain them. This channel is about slow growth, learning one small thing at a time that quietly changes how you see everything else. If you enjoyed this journey, subscribe and stay curious, because the more you understand the world, the less confusing it becomes.